Audio check, audio check, audio check. Audio check, audio check, audio check. Audio check, audio check, audio check. Alrighty, good morning. Leave a little bit of sound on in the background as we set up. It's going to be a pretty simple week. Hope everybody's doing okay. It's kind of an interesting last couple weeks. It seems like the longer we go, it seems like the more strange it becomes. So believe me, we feel it. We all feel it. So not just you. So, but we are continuing to move forward. And this last week, I decided to reduce the load by quite a bit. So, what I wanted us to do is to just look at that second video, and that's all I'm asking you to do this week. What I might do is throw together a little quiz to kind of finish the week out. So look forward to that. A simple quiz, basically on the first little segment, things that we covered. So if I go into our sociology curriculum, and I go back into, here, poverty in America. What I want to do is I want to review these ideas. I want to review the Collier's traps idea, the web resources that you can go to basically make those socioeconomic pictures make more sense. But remember, we're pretty much going to stay within this core information right here. This core of information. And there's not a lot there's only 17 concepts in here. And remember, when you go through Quizlet, let me just go ahead and open it up to just open it up to the flashcards. This is the regular site. So if you want to do that and then view the study set, you can just open it up here. Let me just double check really quick. I just want to see my stream health. Sorry. Make sure we're still green. Good, we're still green. Good. I did some adjustments to. Let me turn that one off there. I did some adjustments to my bandwidth, so we should be really good. I should be streaming in 1080, but I'm not today. Just going to stay in 720 just to be sure. Hold on here. There we go. So inside of our Quizlet. So let me go into. Let me go back into here. Inside of Quizlet, I have a series of ideas. Now this is getting into the stuff that we haven't covered yet. The second PowerPoint. Most of it was geared towards the first PowerPoint and the concepts within that. So if you want to go back and look at that, let's go in here really quick and pop down to and pop into that PowerPoint section. So let me just go into there really quick. And the first one, remember, was geared towards kind of the micro topic or the macro topic. Sorry, we were looking at global stratification, and then we basically narrowed it down to stuff that's more closer to home. No preview available. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, don't need it. But this is the first PowerPoint right here that I'm referring to. And it says global stratification, wealth and poverty in the world. So it's this material here. A lot of it's overlapping. So just be careful. You don't have to, like I said, these major topics, wealth, power, and prestige, these are covered. Basically, they're a repeat in the second PowerPoint. But this looks at global issues, and if you go all the way down, it goes into Collier's traps, and I tried to get you to use Collier's traps within the U.S. model. That we can take somebody like Tammy Crabtree, and we can use her story and apply Collier's traps. And I think a lot of you that you've already have attempted that. Have already been able to understand how those two ideas connect, and you know, there's actually an interesting concept. If I could find a world map, I don't think this has a world map on it. Another concept that I like to show kids is, especially from the global perspective, we look at different types of. Now we're getting into slavery. And I'm going to cover that, social systems, when we get into how groups are stratified. One is quality of life, and then we get into how quality of life is determined, whether you have electricity, whether you have a clean water supply, that you have access to telecommunications. It says telephone, but cellular service today. Mail services, whether you can send things, whether there's means of transportation other than personal transportation, like a car or a bike, those kinds of things. Airports, whether how long your grandfather lived, your access to health, those things right there. Down here it talks about infant mortality, where babies die, or whether they live long or not. How many women die in childbirth? I mean, that's a concept that shouldn't exist anymore. So that's from the global perspective. But once again, we can define wealth, power, and prestige. Remember, those are different ways that we classify ourselves as being rich or poor. But since there are the three most common social stratification, we got systems are slavery, caste systems, and class systems. We looked at the class systems structure, and the class system structure is what we're used to. But most of us are not familiar with, for example, the caste system. Now, the true caste system, which pretty much the only real model that we really have in the world, was the one that was in India. And the idea of a caste system is that you were born into a certain level of standing, and that's kind of where you have to stay. A caste is something you're born into, and you don't get to leave. There's no upward mobility in a caste system. If you're born poor, you stay poor. You do jobs that poor people do. And some people say that the class system is developing into something that's similar to that. And the true caste system, it was outlawed even in India. So even though the caste system probably still exists in India because it's ingrained into their culture, but as far as it being a set in stone law, it doesn't. It's been outlawed. So the caste system doesn't really exist anymore. The idea of slavery, though, still does, and it exists in a lot larger, with a lot larger footprint than most people give it credit for, because slavery is still something that's abundant in our society. Slavery can exist in a lot of different forms. It can exist in, for example, financial slavery, meaning that you basically get indebted to someone. It could be indentured servitude, where somebody provides a service for you, and in return you have to give them your labor. And then you have this whole idea of sex slavery that and then child slavery in Africa. The sex slavery business was highly publicized in the last 5-10 years. Kind of brought out onto the surface that people are basically being held against their will. And so, anyways, those are different types of slavery that still exist. But the old form, the traditional form that we were used to, that we grew up with learning about in our history classes, this idea of what they call chattel slavery. I'm going to go down here. The oldest form of slavery, meaning it's kind of generational, is something that's a thing of the past. There's really no country in the world that still applies a chattel form of slavery, meaning people are kept and kind of bred like animals and kept in a certain class and are being guided by overseers. It just doesn't exist anymore in that form. There's craftier, I guess, forms of slavery that exist today. But you got this. There's the idea they talk about debt bondage. But these ideas here are all going to be kind of in that next segment. That's where I'm moving towards. And this is how we'll finish out the unit. We'll look at that. We'll look at these different class systems. So systems that we organize ourselves. Like I said, we're more familiar with the system that's most familiar to us is the class system. Okay. And that class system is based on wealth, income levels. You can want to look at it that way. But this information here is all about that. This is all, concerning that world systems, and then it ends with globalism. So, which is a very controversial topic today. If you look at the idea of globalism, I think we're kind of facing globalism right now. The decision of whether that globalism should exist or not. And at one level, a lot of people believe that globalism, say for example with the coronavirus, that when you have a global pandemic, you need a global system to fight it off. And some people say that no, it's the existence of a global system that keeps countries from being able to shut off the pandemic. Where at one time the pandemic would have only existed in pockets of the world, it now exists globally because it's able to spread more easy because of our access to one another via airplane, via trade, whatever, that kind of thing. So those are some theoretic perspectives. But when you get into to PowerPoint 2, let me just go into PowerPoint 2. I'll leave that one open, which is Notes 2. I'll go into there, hit that one. PowerPoint 2 is it deals mostly with the idea of stratification based on income brackets, on the class, social classes, okay, birth status, family origin, your nobility, who you're born with, what school you go to. It's kind of like if you are in a lower class or a poorer class, you're kind of delegated to what they call public education, the state education. And the higher the class level you go, the more private your education becomes. Maybe you go to a private high school, or maybe you go to a private elementary school or secondary school level. And then, of course, as you move forward, you have access to the private school system in the secondary system. When you get into universities and colleges, and what access do you have to those? There's been a lot of stories concerning wealth and social class, and whether you're able to get into certain schools like Stanford, which is a really difficult school to get into. There's a lot of ways you get into those schools. One is, just being a genius. I mean, that'll get you in pretty much anywhere. But Another way you can get into is having wealthy parents. If you have a parent that has the ability to basically influence monetarily the school system, meaning that you can donate, you have access at that point to that education that other people don't. You literally could can be the most average student. But on the other hand, if your mother or father is a billionaire, I mean, yeah, you can probably get into those places. Not probably, more than likely, you have the ability through influence, and that's not something that's I guess it's hidden, in a way, because we don't talk about it a lot. But a lot of that's come up just recently with some students that got into some prestigious schools because their parents were famous actors, and they purchased influence to get into sports programs, which they really didn't have the ability to basically be in, like a soccer team or whatever, or the swimming team or the polo team or the water polo team. And of course, that allowed you scholarship through athletics, and so there's also that. I mean, how many people can basically claim athletic ability high enough to get into the school of their choice? So you get into that stuff. That idea, wealth versus income. We look at that. What does it mean to be wealthy? Is it material possessions? And then we basically distribute income based upon a graduated scale. Now, this is a 5-tier system. I think what I did was I narrowed it down in class. I narrowed it down to lowest, middle, and highest. I just made it into 3 tiers. And then I placed those different tiers into income distribution, and this gets into poverty. We need to definitely talk about poverty too. But I want to go down to see if I can find that. Here, upper middle. Here we go. Capital. This is the income scale based upon the ladder of, or the inclination, the ladder of monetary, I guess, yearly income. Just put it that way. This has an underclass at about 10,000. Now, what I did was, as I changed these numbers, and because they have changed, these are old statistics. I would say that the working poor probably levels off today at about 35,000. Believe it or not, I remember, and this is a story I tell a lot of kids, is that when I was growing up, one of my lifelong attainments was I wanted to make $40,000 a year. I figured that if I made $40,000 a year, I would become either lower or middle class. I thought middle class was about there. Well, guys, middle class has moved quite a long ways past 40,000. But when I was growing up, that was the number. That was the number that was in my head. Gosh, if I could just make $20 an hour, I could reach the level of life comfort that I would be happy with. But this has, I would say, middle class has moved up into the 100,000 range. I'd say that this is maybe at the bottom end, 50. Now that we have 2 parents working, now this takes into consideration the fact that not just one parent is working now. This is a 2-income household, which back 40, 50 years ago was just not something that really was on the list of things people did socially. Your mom stayed home, and it's that kind of thing. And now your income's double, so now the middle income becomes 100,000 as opposed to 40,000, like I looked at. And I would say the upper income level, the lower, what I would say lower upper is more around $1 million today. Not that, you're earning $1 million. I would say that maybe you need the $250,000 to $500,000 range. It says 500,000 capitalists, which I think is a low. The 1% make well over $500,000 a year. I mean, we're talking millions now, that kind of thing. So I broke this ladder down today at, let's see, I think I put the underclass. What is underclass? That's a good question. Because you have to look at, well, if I could get the basic job and I could work full time, what would I be earning? And the federal government says that, I think that where you stop paying taxes, where you stop and start paying taxes, where that level is, I think about $35,000. And, if you get the basic job, making, I don't know, depends on what state you live in, but that income level changes, based upon your location. I mean, in New York, that income could be much higher. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move past this. So this is basically just class systems. And that's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to look at class systems, and we're going to look at those base arguments. Let me go just put it back on this bracket, this ladder, I guess you want to call it. But what I have it done as I broke it down into 3 parts, and they're pretty easily definable parts. So let's go back into here. And remember, this was when we started looking at this section here. I went back to the global model. It was right back here. We talked about social systems right there. All right. So wealth, power, and prestige. Remember, you can break down economic systems into what people believe and what people basically strive for, that makes them feel like they are attaining and they are moving up the social ladder. One is wealth through money, through attaining and increasing income. The other one is power, developing jobs that allow for more autonomy, more control. So power has to do with control of people, and then prestige is attaining levels of education. So for some people, prestige could be becoming famous, becoming a famous actor, becoming a well-known or a skilled athlete. Prestige can come from going to the best school, and that prestige can come from a lot of different places. It's determined by the person. So what determines my prestige is basically what I feel like I need to do. Maybe getting a bachelor's degree will equal a higher level of prestige for me. It's internal. So this is that. Those are those three characteristics. Okay. Remember the last discussion we had, I concerned ourselves and kind of stayed focused on the ideas of Collier's traps, those things that kind of entrap us and keep us at a certain stage or level of where we can't move forward, we can't gain more wealth. For example, if I have limited income and I have limited education, that allows me a limited amount of skill development, that allows me a limited type job, I am going to be limited in the level of income. Now, as far as power is concerned, I can gain power through there. I can, get better jobs, but maybe my inability to be able to manage another employee, or my inability to be able to manage money. Maybe I don't understand how a business operates. I don't understand that you have to be good to customers. I don't understand that you have to keep the work flowing. Think about managing a McDonald's, for example. A lot of people oversimplify that job and they say, well, crap, you just make burgers and you just shove money and food, money comes in and you shove food out the door. There's a lot more things to think about when you own that McDonald's. You have to look at, the local laws. You have to look at health codes. You have to take into consideration safety standards. You have to take into consideration customer what's the customer getting as far as their experience when they come to that McDonald's. You have to deal with employees with different issues and things that come up in their lives. You have to deal with the lack of ability to get product. Whether you're going to be able to get, your shipments on time, and keeping and managing inventories. I mean, think about all that stuff. And McDonald's becomes a very, very, expensive proposition as far as time and ability, So anyway, you can take anything like that and you can break it down into its very intricate parts. All right. So those are the concepts. So today, like I said, we're looking at social systems. All right. So let's go to on here. Excuse me for 1 second. We'll finish up here. It's 9:30. Take just a quick. I just got to run quick. I'll be right back. Alrighty. A little Gatorade time. That's what talking too much will get you. All right. So what I want to do to finish up is to look a little bit at that first video segment. I just want to. Now, I don't think I'll be able to play the sound, but I'll be able to put Tammy up. So I wanted to go and let me just go to Tammy's Story. Now, hopefully all those things were working, but the Tammy's Story is broken down into 2 video segments. And let me just get it on the drive here instead. And you have a before and after story when it comes to Tammy. Tammy Crabtree is what we would consider to be in poverty. And her poverty has definitely got her in a trap. Okay. And this is the video segment that I'm talking about right here. And this is what we call Tammy's Story. And it starts out basically in this setting. And let me see if I don't know if I can bring the audio in. We will see. We will find out.
I'm embarrassed a little bit about living here because the trailer and the yard and stuff, it's all messed up. Mom likes the place. I like the place a little bit too.
So this is Matt. This is Tammy's oldest son. I don't know if Matt and his brother Bo have the same dad. So we've got many different dynamics going on here. In this family. And of course the setting is horrible. This is definitely not a house that meets any type of code or standard.
I don't like want all my friends and stuff to know where I live at. Cause they're like class up from us and stuff.
This is my living room. And he does clean house when I'm at work. He try to help out and everything. I appreciate that, okay?
And this kid here is
things I
Matt's
don't like
friend.
To do is move things where I can't find them.
I don't like to introduce my mom to a lot of people because I don't like for them to see her image, what she looks like. She don't fix herself up, and that's what more or less what people look at, their appearance, not how they act.
And this here is my kitchen. May not look like much, but
So we look like we got electricity. So I look at the small things when I see these kinds of profiles. I look at, does she have electricity? Does she have access to running water? And in this case, she does.
it's something. And you can see I don't have a furnace, which I like to have one. I'd like to know where it went.
So she has no heating and air conditioning system. Now, I don't believe that air conditioning is a requirement by code, but I think a heating system is. I think you have to maintain a minimum standard of habitable, habitation. You can see that there's a lot of like the windows are not sealed. That kind of thing. Now, if this was a rental, which it probably is, I can imagine that she doesn't own this property. But I can imagine that the owner of this property really doesn't care too much about it either.
Tammy Crabtree and her 4 children cling to the bottom rung of the social ladder in their small Ohio town. But even down here, they're not ready to be counted out just yet.
All this junk and stuff, I don't know where to put it, and my mom or nobody would tell me, so I just throw it over there in a big pile.
This is all junk. We got it going down over top that bank, and junk all over there. Clothes, burnt things. It's messed up.
Why don't you want to clean it up?
Lazy.
Just plain and simple said it. Huh.
I like being a couch potato. That's all I know.
Well, Mom, she won't lift a hand either. I get on her all the time and she says, all you can do is move and stuff. And I go, I don't want to move, but I want you to straighten up and start acting. We do argue all the time. I ain't gonna lie. That's all me and my mom does.
I was on welfare 18 years, and now I work at Burger King, and I'm trying to make a living and make a home for the kids. It ain't my fault because I'm poor. I grew up poor. My dad worked hard. He worked 27 years on county engineer, trying to make a living for 22 kids.
So her father, that's a lot. That's a whole lot of information right there if you think about it. Her father basically was, had what we would consider to have a middle class job, but he had 22 children. That is just an absolutely a massive amount of income responsibility. So, you can take any good job and you split that between 22 kids and you don't have much left. So this girl was pretty much lost in a massive family, with not a lot of obviously there wasn't any kind of thought of controlling birth. I guess you want to look at it that way. Have one that is a very oddly large family, but it's very easy to see how she is now caught in this economic trap. There was no way for her family, and many families, do support or help to support their kids as they're dealing with, say, a divorce or early marriages or lack of an early marriage and maybe early pregnancy, that kind of thing. But she's in a really tough spot. It does seem like she does have some kids that, obviously they're acting for the camera, but there's more to the story, obviously, but she still believes, and we said 18 years on welfare. She decided after 18 years, more than likely she had no ability to work as she was raising her kids. Now that her kids are old enough that they can work, she's decided that she's going to make a go of it. But think about that, 18 years later, what can you do once you've sacrificed that much time of your own growth? Now you're stuck. What's the odds of going back to school and retraining at her age? I'm thinking she's younger than she looks. I'm thinking she may be 40, is my guess, maybe reaching 40 already. And that's, we have no idea what's inside of her, what's in her background. We don't know about drug abuse. We don't know about anything else about why she's divorced or not, that kind of stuff. Or whether she was married at all.
I was proud of my dad. He'd be proud of me now, for just trying. Kids, I'm going to work. See you after a while.
This is the most amazing part about this story is how far.
To work. 10.5 miles.
10-mile walk to work.
Don't have a car. Don't have a license.
Well, she does have a car, but it's in her front yard, not working.
Even when I'm walking to work or something, someone will holler, "Hey, trashy bitch, what are you doing?" I'm just walking to work.
You can imagine, as she gets to work, especially if it's rained. But that, I would say that would be in Collier's Traps. That would be an example of being landlocked. And now not having access to a vehicle.
All I want is just a life where I can be happy. But right now, I'm not, because the way people treat me.
And she's in Ohio.
My own kids treat me.
So this is Waverly, Ohio, which is way down in the southern part of the state.
Morning. Hello, anybody in here? My friends think I should stay at home and take care of my kids, draw welfare. I don't know. Ain't me. I'm hoping to go to college and be a school teacher. That was my goal from the time I was 5 years old up until now.
Now,
Sometimes I am embarrassed by mom because she wears that Burger King outfit.
so she has dreams, and that's I think a huge part of the story is her dream that she wants to to better her education. She wants to become a school teacher. I think that in a way she's leading by example, definitely for her kids. But what are the odds of her reaching that goal? And most of us will say, well, crap, there's not you have no chance. So look at how old you are. And then if of course you get into the job market, and you are, you do defy the odds and you get through and get a 4-year degree with an additional, teaching endorsement on top of that. That's, you're almost 50 years old, you're 45 at that point, assuming you're 40. It's, she's really in a very dire situation.
Every day. I mean,
No, I don't.
I have never seen her go to a real nice.
I really like the second part of this video because you get to see these kids,
the shirt or the pants,
grow.
She wears it constantly, but it's different outfits, but it's the same damn outfit. Sorry for using that word.
My son, he thinks he's high class and preppy. He's the best. He thinks he's better than me, better than his brothers.
This is my brother Bo. He dresses like this compared to this. And I don't like how he dresses because that's why I don't hang out with him. I don't talk about him or anything. When people say he's my brother, I go, no, I don't know him. But when he dresses better and stuff, I'll walk around with him. And me and my friend over here, come here. Me and Josh, the only way we walk around with him if he starts looking good, and we help him dress good and comb his hair and make him look better. And
Mac thinks he's in a different class. Really, he's in the same class I am. He's just trying to prove to his friends that he's in their class. But I know different.
right here I got 30 or 40 awards, and I got those little, I got presidential awards, and I got school athletes awards.
Would you like to be like your brother?
Eh.
What is it about your brother that you would like to be?
Popular. I'm gonna go to college. For a lawyer, you have to go to 4 to 6. Might go the 4-year term to be a basic thing. In architectural design, it only takes 2 years in college. So, might go down here to Shawnee or Hocking College, somewhere around in there, and get a little school going on. Cause I know I ain't no Harvard material or anything like that. But.
There's my car. I got short in the wiring somewhere because I can't use my lights. And I need tires. And I've been trying to get someone to fix it where I can get on the road, I just basically need to get things going, to get my kids going. They just run to their friends and everything. Excuse me. I don't know what else to do.
So that's that video, like you said, is a sobering kind of reminder of people. Now, the thing I always tell kids or tell people when we watch this is the fact that if you look at her lifestyle and you compare her to the rest of the world, she actually lives better than about 5 to 6 billion people on this earth. There's about 7 billion people on the planet, and she is better off than well over 3/4 of them, which is pretty hard for a lot of people to understand. And that's where you start getting into the model of wealth disparity in the world, that there are people that live on less than $1 a day, and she'll probably earn $25,000 in total income and pay 0 taxes because she doesn't make enough to be taxable. Of course, she has to pay into Social Security and she has to pay into to FICA, that kind of thing, federal. But that's kind of, she'll never see